Hello, good morning all. Today we are going to be discussing about data lake as a solution to any of the enterprise problems. So the agenda for today's discussion is going to be what is a data lake, the various components of a data lake, the difference between data lake and a data warehouse. We will also discuss on the business value that a data lake solution brings in, and at the end we will be discussing all the data lake architecture. What is a data lake? To understand that, we need to really understand the classifications of the data. So we have two broader classified data, structured and unstructured data. Structured data, as you see on your left side, is a neat schema-oriented picture, which consists of data contained within fixed width fields in a table and is ready for consumption. Whereas the unstructured data consists of various formats of data. It consists of pictures, videos, images, and text. Even the text data is not aligned. So data lake is actually a solution which provides a central repository for structured and unstructured data. It is also a solution to store raw data without any schema. A data lake is also a store where we can store various formats of data like images, text, files, videos, machine learning artifacts, analytical outputs, and real-time data. Moving on next to the components of a data lake. So there are 5 broader classification or components of a data lake. We have the ingestion, storage, security, lineage, and governance. Broadly, the ingestion layer is where we extract data from various different sources. There can be various formats of data, heterogeneous, homogeneous, structured, unstructured, video, images, text, etc. Storage is a highly scalable layer which kind of helps the storage of the processed data from the ingestion layer, and it also helps in encryption compression of the data and in a cost effective manner. Security layer is one which helps in applying various security capabilities like MFA, 2FA, RBAC, etc. Data lineage is mostly an analytical layer which kind of helps us apply all the AI ML models on top of the stored data. And at the end, we have the governance layer, which is kind of a complete process after ingestion, processing, integration, cataloging, and analytics to actually generate enterprise level data quality output. Now coming on to the difference between a data lake and a data warehouse. If we broadly classify in terms of the data architecture or the data structure, data lake consists of raw data, whereas data warehouse consists of processed data. In terms of purpose of the data, for data lake, it is not yet determined because it contains huge amount of data which is not, thoroughly been analyzed, and so we kind of keep a big dump of data which will be analyzed and applied with various analytical models and further analytical techniques. Whereas in the case of data warehouse, the data has already been processed and is currently in use. So we know the purpose of data, we know the purpose of why the data warehouse is being built. If we talk about the types of users, data lake is actually used by data scientists, whereas data warehouse gets used by business professionals. In terms of accessibility, data lake is highly accessible and is very quick to update, which is a very big advantage of data lake in today's system because the data keeps on changing and we would want our end data to be updated as and when needed. And this is actually a drawback as we see for data warehouse because the data, when it is stored under data warehouse, it's complex and the updation becomes costly at that level. Another simpler analogy or between data lake and data warehouse can be drawn through this picture. So we have a data lake which is a big water body and it contains huge amount of data in a real time scenario, and the data is in its raw format. Whereas in the case of data warehouse, as you see, the data has already been processed and contained within various containers or consisting a similar analogy like a data mart, and it's ready for consumption. So the business value of data lake. So if you see here, the business value of data lake can be actually broadly classified in terms of four views, and which stands for volume, velocity, variety, and veracity. If we talk about volume, so the volume here actually refers to the amount of data that is, that is analyzed and processed, which are, frequently larger nowadays in terms of terabytes and petabytes. A very common example of this capability is the high volume of data that gets generated from credit card transactions on a single day in any particular region or any particular country. The second capability that we have is velocity, which actually refers to the speed of data with which the data gets generated and gets processed. In today's world, where social media is, a very much needed platform, we need our data to be processed. We need our data to be up and visible. And so, the huge amount of data that gets processed on Twitter or Facebook is a common example. If you talk about variety actually that's actually the essence of big data, where you store a huge amount of data which comes from different sources, and so gives in a great variety. And this can be broadly classified into three types, which is structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data. A common example of this format of data is the CCTV footage, the audio and the video footage that gets generated at various locations in a city. The last capability that we have is called veracity, which is actually not very commonly seen, but what it refers to is the quality of data that gets analyzed. So, a high veracity data has many records and it is valuable. The output that gets generated is actually meaningful, whereas contradictory to this, a low veracity data, on the other hand, contains high percentage of meaningless data which does not make sense to us and is generally considered as noise. An example of high veracity data would be the huge amount of data that gets generated from a medical experiment or a trial. The last slide that we have here is on data architecture. So, on a broader aspect, the data architecture here actually sums up the various aspects that we have talked in the previous slides. So we have the various source systems, which might consist of audio, video, structured and unstructured data. We have an ingestion layer, which gets the data from the various source systems, and there are various tools and technologies like Apache Scoop, ADF, Apache NiFi, which can be used for this process. The other layer that we have is the storage layer, which consists of again different sort of tools. A common example of this is Apache HBase or Apache Hadoop. The third layer that we have is the processing layer, where the data gets processed and transformed. Various tools that we can use on this layer is Apache Flame, Apache Spark, to name a few. And the last layer is the target layer or the application layer, which is the layer which actually gets consumed by various analytical tools. So you can apply various Power BI features, you can apply various dashboards and AI and ML models on top of this data, and this data is actually ready for consumption or any kind of analysis. So that brings us towards the end of this presentation. Thank you.